Hi, it's Jodie B here. This is a quick video just explaining the RPE scale, so rate of perceived exertion. Now, the rate of perceived exertion scale has been modified from the original Borg scale. So the Borg scale would equate effort level, which would be heart rate, to a number on the Borg scale, which is between 6 and 20. So for the purposes of working with a client when you're verbalizing things to them, I greatly recommend that you use a simplified RPE scale between 1 to 10. And so when you are doing your exercises, especially cardio based or intensity based exercises, you can gauge how hard you're working from 1 to 10. So 1 is laying down pretty much asleep, and 10 is so uncomfortable you can't think straight. And what you need to do is get to a point where you're working at a level that is, and at times, at a high intensity, but you're not feeling like you're never basically gonna, you're never gonna get there. So there are various different techniques. For instance, if you're gonna do long, steady distance cardio, so you might be going for a little jog or a bike ride, you wanna be aiming to work around about RPE 7, which means that you can talk, but you're not going to have a full-blown conversation whilst you're doing it. So I need to work on that one. If you're doing interval training, so obviously that means that you do a lower intensity, so you'd be working at like an RPE, it could be anything as long as there's a difference in the intensity. RPE, say 3. The higher intensity needs to be pushing past that conversation mode, so I would suggest an RPE of around about 8. But again, you can like play around with intervals and see how it works for individuals and for yourself. And then fartlek basically means speed play. It's Swedish for speed play. And that's very sporadic, working on different RPEs and different intensities, which can be quite difficult to gauge, but fun to actually do. So that is a rate of perceived exertion. I hope that's made sense to you. If you're giving feedback as a client, then it's great to give a number between 1 and 10. And as a PT or as a trainer, it's great to be able to use that and remind the client of where they need to be feeling, where they need to be at. So that's the first thing. The second thing is looking at weight training, body weight training, anything that's resistance based, and looking at getting feedback. Now, RPE is quite difficult to gauge when it comes to that, but what you need to be looking at when you're training is that the last couple of reps need to be a reasonable effort. Now, that doesn't mean that you're busting a gut and you want to throw up. It just means that it's challenging, that you're counting to it. If you're doing repetitions and that you're just going willy-nilly and you forgot to count and you've probably done about 20, then the weight is not heavy enough, because we do not need to be doing masses and masses of repetitions, even if we're just looking at muscular endurance. So it should be no more than 15 repetitions. So it's just something to monitor and to be aware of. And really making sure that you're working at a level that's suitable for you. So that is my little video on effort when it comes to RPE and resistance training.